Hello everyone, thank you for watching our video on how to make decorations for the exterior of your home. My name is John Enterline.
And I'm Ron Short, and we and the Marietta Restoration Association welcome you to this video.
And we're doing this today for the Marietta Candlelight Christmas Tour. And so we're encouraging everyone to decorate the outsides of their homes. So we'd like to show you a couple of tricks that we like to use to make simple decorations or make them look elegant but simply made. Ron, what are you starting with today?
Well, the piece that I'm making is a colonial fan-light piece of fruit for above your door. And a lot of the colonial pieces are made with wood and nails, and they're fairly complicated using fresh fruits, and sometimes that can get very difficult to complete and to hold up during the season. So I'm going to be doing a version of that just about anyone would be able to do. So the first thing that you do is you get a foam core sheet, which you can get at any craft store, and you cut an arch out of it. And after you cut the arch out, you start hot gluing fresh magnolia leaves onto the surface of it. And so I'm going to be doing a few of those just to show you how that's done. A glue gun, you want to go a zigzag pattern so that you have glue almost to the edges of the leaves. That way they'll adhere better to the foam core. So basically you're just making little zigzags of hot glue, and watch your fingers because it is hot, and then overlapping them and continuing that pattern for the whole distance. Okay? And what are you up to, John?
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to show them how to make a simple swag to hang on the door, and then we'll do a little decoration to put on it. I'm going to start out with a Leyland cypress branch. Oftentimes you have something like this in the landscape that just needs to be pruned. So you take one branch and you cut it in half like this, and I'm going to layer them on top of each other, put them together in a fashion such as this, and now all I need to do is tie them together. I'm going to tie them together using a pipe cleaner or chenille stem, because that way I have something soft to hang against the door and not a sharp wire there. So I'm going to tie it, and when I do tie it, I'm going to tie it in two places so that it doesn't twist and bend. We have to remember that during the winter season, we have a lot of high winds sometimes, and they can play havoc on the decorations. So I'm tying this in two spots so that the branches will not move or come apart. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a bow. And we'll be making several bows today. I like to start out with about 2 yards of ribbon. So we take 2 yards of ribbon. I'm using a holiday gold ribbon to be a little different. We start with our tail. To determine the length you want your tail, you make your first loop, and then what you do is you hold it on your index finger and crimp it with the middle finger and the thumb. Now you do a half-turn twist, bring the loop up from the bottom, catch it, crimp it, twist it. Another loop and another loop. And we're making this a very simple bow today. I'm going to again use a chenille stem or pipe cleaner which goes across the middle. Now what I do is pull the loops to the side and get my pipe cleaner very, very tight. The key to making a very lovely bow is to not drop the ribbon and do it twice. Once you put the crimps in, that holds it. So here's a very simple little bow, okay? And that could go over this, and you could call it completely done. However, I'm going to make a corsage to add on the top of it.
Well, as you can see, I just continued the line of the magnolia leaves all the way around the arch, filled in some in the center. So now this is ready for you to design your fruit piece on this. Now normally we would do a pineapple in the center and then a row of smaller fruits around the outside, and all these products are available at any craft store. And then you'd fill in those other empty spots in between with whatever fits. You might need some fruits that are a little larger and some that are small. And then after you get all your fruit on there, then you can hot glue some little pieces of fresh greens in between just to finish it off. So this is your starting point, your foam core back, your fresh magnolia leaves as your base. So now I'm going to go to a finished piece and explain a few details to you.
I'm starting with a plaque using a piece of styrofoam. I've covered the edges with a dark green ribbon so that it doesn't show. And then I'm pinning leaves up, magnolia leaves on. And I just take 2 or 3 leaves, fan them out, and then I'm going to use a greening pin. The greening pin is a fern pin or greening pin available at the craft shop. It has a little S shape on the top of it which holds everything into place. So I simply attach that to my plaque, put the pin in, and pin it down. Here's a leaf that's not performing where I want it to, so I can use a second pin and just pin it in place to hold it there. And I'm going to put, now that I have them all the way around, I'm going to put another one in the middle, going in the other direction. And now my styrofoam is completely covered.
Okay, well, while he's working on that, I'm going to show you a finished piece from what we just started just a minute ago. As you can see, I started with the smaller fruits around the outside, and you can do whatever pattern that you would like. You don't need to do this pattern. You could use different sizes, different fruits. Whatever you decide that you want to use would be fine. But I've decided to use a couple of big fruits in there and then a lot of the smaller ones. The fruit is attached with the hot glue gun, just like the magnolia leaves. If you use a big piece of styrofoam instead of the foam core, like John was using for his plaque, you could also use wooden picks. This is just a simplified form to make it a little easier for everyone. So all of this is going to be hot glued onto the magnolia leaves. And as you can see, it does make a lovely display. But we do have some little areas in here where we don't have anything, okay? So what we're going to do about those voids is we're going to take some fresh greens that I've clipped here, and basically I just took a piece of greenery and just clipped off just the pretty points off of the piece. And then we put a little hot glue on it, and we can stick that in just in between all of the little voids that we have where we don't have fruit. And basically it gives a little more dimension, and then it fills up the empty space.
There's high temperature and there's low temperature glue. The advantage of the low temperature glue is when you burn your fingers, it doesn't hurt as much, but it doesn't hold always as well. The hot temperature is a very soft glue, so when you apply your object, you have to hold it a little longer till it sets in. Now, since I'm using styrofoam, I'm going to, again, I've put some lovely lemons on here. I'm going to put some red berries in here, and everything I apply, I can hold on by just catching over the stem and poking it into the styrofoam. Another method I could do is poke it into the styrofoam, the stem into the styrofoam if I would like. But my objects that I'm poking on are not very heavy in weight, so they will hold by the fern pins. These lemons have come with, in groups, there's two in a group. Okay. Now we're using artificial fruit for what we're doing today, and all through the season I'll go to flea markets or yard sales and find pieces of fruit that people don't want anymore and gather it up to do a project like this, which makes it much more efficient. So it's something that you're constantly thinking about all year long, what you'd like to do for your project. Okay, I'd like to add a few pine cones to this, and so I've taken some pine cones and I've sprayed them gold. And I'm going to take a length of floral wire here and go over the back of the pine cone, catching it in between the scales of the cone, twist it around like that, and I now have a wire on it. Now, the wire I can either pin in, but another method I'm going to show you is to take the wire and go around a wood pick, okay? And the wood pick is a wood floral pick, like this, okay? And the wood floral pick then gives me something very good to tie into my styrofoam. Okay?
All right. Now, as you can see, once I have all of the fruit glued on, I've gone back and I've glued the little fresh greens into all of those empty voids so that you now have a nice uniform coverage of the background. This piece was not made for this fan light at the door here at the Union Meeting House, but it'll give you an idea of what your piece would look like if you have a fan light, or you can put it over your door. You don't necessarily have to have a fan light to use one of these.
That looks good.
Yeah. It's a very simplified version of a Colonial Williamsburg decoration that you don't have to be a professional to do. You can gather your products from the different areas that you desire. If you want to do, we do a lot of picking up at flea markets and antique shops. Some of this fruit that's in this display is vintage fruit from the 60s. So, and some of it is from yesterday from Michael's. So you can use a combination of things. If you have things in the family or passed down from the family to use, that's a wonderful way to use items like that. So, John, what are you doing?
Well, I finished my accessory that I'm going to add on, and if your door is small or if you have a pair of doors, you could make two of these and call it quits. But what I want to do next is to attach this with a piece of wire. So I will have my greens behind me and the plaque on the front. I've cut a piece of wire now, and what I'm going to do is wrap this around my plaque, weave it through the whole thing, add my greens behind it, and tie it very tightly so that the two become one. Can you hold that for me?
Sure.
There we go, so it doesn't spin around. Okay. I'm going to then cut my wires off, tuck them inside to the styrofoam so I don't make any scratches on the door. We have the pipe cleaners from attaching the greens together. I'm making a loop. There's my loop, and that's how I'll hang it on the door. So let's go try it out. And there we have a Williamsburg style plaque using the lemons, the gold to pick up the lemons with a little touch of red in it. I would make a pair of these for these doors because they're double doors, and it's a lovely complement to the plaque that we'll be putting above the door.